Cameroonian scholar Professor Achille Mbembe is said to receive this year's Holberg Prize, which is awarded annually to an outstanding researcher in the humanities, social sciences, law and theology. Professor Mbembe is considered one of the most read and cited intellectuals hailing from the African continent and is being awarded for his research in African history, post-colonial studies, humanities and social science over decades. He joins us now for more on this discussion. Well, firstly, congratulations, Professor Mbembe, on being named the 2024 Holberg Prize Laureate. Could you firstly share with us what this prestigious award means to you personally and also academically, especially being the first African to receive this honor?
I think that it's an award that helps to shed light on the innovative work which is being done in our continent by our own researchers, as well as people who have chosen Africa as their field of study. I think that as the 21st century unfolds, it's becoming more and more clear to everyone that to a large extent, the destiny of our planet might be played out on this continent. And therefore, many are those who are now willing to look, to listen, and hopefully to hear.
Professor Mbembe, your work has traversed diverse fields, from African history to post-colonial studies, also political philosophy. How do you perceive the significance of this recognition for African scholarship and its global impact as well?
As I have just said, I think that there is a gradual recognition of the fact that our continent might well become the epicenter of the transformations this century will witness. As for me, I have been absolutely privileged to work over the last 23 years at a very important institution at Wits University, especially at WISER, where I have been given support I would have never been given anywhere else in the world. And this recognition, it goes to South Africa, this country that still has so much to tell the world. It goes to our university institutions and to the continent at large. In any case, that's how I see it.
I want us to expand a bit on that point. When looking at the Holberg Prize citation, it also highlights your ability to bridge colonial and post-colonial thinking with contemporary issues such as migration, citizenship and climate change as well, quite interestingly. How do you see your work then contributing to these crucial discussions on a global scale?
Beyond my work is part, as I have been trying to explain, part of, it emerges out of a community. It's made possible because of the institutions we have nurtured here in South Africa and in the continent at large. So it's not really my work. It's the work of the community of scholars in the continent who are grappling with some of the key issues our planet is facing, and which can be summarized from a philosophical point of view as having to do with the conditions of sustainability of life on Earth. Because that is really the key challenge our epoch has to solve. And one cannot solve it with one type of archives, Western archives. We have to solve it by reopening all the archives of the world, especially ours in Africa. We have to solve it by resorting to many different forms of intelligence and modes of interrogation, from philosophy, theology, history, anthropology, politics, sociology, etc., etc. So it's that kind of interdisciplinary type of work which I think will likely help us to grasp the challenges of our times from Africa.
Speaking about that, your concept of necropolitics has resonated quite deeply in academic and activist circles. Can you elaborate on how you see this concept really shaping our understanding of power structures and also mortality in contemporary society?
I mean, wherever we look, we see people exposed to premature death, kind of death that is not biologically programmed, in the sense that you're born here, you live a full life, you die at 80, 85, 86, under decent, if one can speak in that way, conditions. A dignified life leading to a dignified death. Many are put to death or exposed to death today by all kinds of structures, political, economic, atmospheric, environmental, ecological, in a deliberate manner. It is this exposure to death, it is death drive turned into politics, which I have called necropolitics. And as you have said, yes, it does have resonate a lot with a lot of what we see actually going on with the resurgence of wars of extermination, genocide attempts, mass assassinations, and the general destruction of the basic conditions of life. So it seems to me that it is this combination of racism and its extension to almost every sphere of life, and it's being turned into a mode of mortal relationships, politics means.
You've spoken about envisioning an open future beyond the histories of race and colonialism as well. How do you believe academia and intellectual discourse can actually contribute to realizing this vision of a more inclusive and just world, if you will?
I mean, academic discourse can do that through intelligent research, which helps us to unearth actual facts at a time when there's a lot of fiction around, fake news and all that. So that return to reason as a faculty that is hopefully equally shared, but which is nurtured, actually nurtured, educated. That return is absolutely necessary if we are to rise up to the challenges of our times. So it seems to me that the reactivation of these critical faculties and the dissemination in the society, in the public sphere, is a precondition for going forward. It seems to me too that South Africa, we haven't said the last word about this place and what happened here in the 90s. Something happened here which can still speak to a world that is becoming more and more fractured, that still holds meaning. We have to decipher, keep deciphering and reactivating under changing circumstances. So that work of interpretation, I think, is absolutely important in any case in the humanities.
So your work has been translated into numerous languages, indicating its global relevance, I'll argue. How do you then navigate the challenges of ensuring that your ideas are quite accessible and accurately interpreted across diverse cultural and linguistic contexts?
Oh, that's a... I didn't know you were going to ask that very, very difficult question. I come to the... You see, I never read translations. I don't even read myself. I try to write in the most accurate way I can. And when I'm published, that's it. The book has to take care of itself and defend itself. This might not happen under every single circumstance. But this means that, of course, there will be mistranslations, there will be misapprehensions of ideas. I can simply hope that these mistranslations and misunderstandings will be honest, and that they will be fair, and that they won't be unfair in relation to the love I have put in producing the work.
So, as a leading figure in post-colonial thought, what advice would you give to emerging scholars seeking to address these pressing social and political issues in their research and activism?
To be awake, because a lot in the environment we live in is inciting us to fall asleep, not to see, not to hear, not to listen. I think the first task is to reopen oneself to the life of all these senses, because knowledge is not just the brain.
Yeah.
It's the experience we are immersed into. It's the care and attention we pay to what is unfolding around us and inside ourselves. I think there is an element of interiority, of centeredness, which is absolutely important if one wants to conduct a life of a scholar, which is an ascetic life, not being in pursuit of material wealth, cars, property, not that. There's a level of asceticism which is absolutely important if one is to engage in the work of the mind and the labor of the spirit. And of course there is actual work, reading, reading a lot, reading patiently, being loving, ideas. These are internal dispositions we have to be educated into in this age of acceleration and superficiality and cynicism.
Professor Mbembe, as we wrap up our conversation, but also looking ahead, what are some of the key areas that you hope to explore further in your academic work? And how do you see your role in really shaping future conversations in and beyond academia?
Look, I have, over the last few years, I would say the last 3 years, I've been very directly involved in setting up a new institution which is hosted at Wits University. It's called the Innovation Foundation for Democracy. It is a foundation which intervenes in the whole of the continent. It's now actively operating in West Central Africa. This year it will start operating in Eastern Africa. We are already busy here in South Africa itself and surrounding countries. It intervenes in the field of research because there's still so much to know about democratic innovation in our part of the world. It intervenes also in the field of training because we have to train people. Democrats don't just emerge spontaneously. We educate people to democracy. That work has to be done. It intervenes also in supporting financially local organizations. So these are very practical kind of work I'm involved in. Intellectually, for the next few years, I would like to use that experience, go into the field, traveling throughout our big, beautiful continent, and listening to people, collecting narratives, making observations, all coalescing around the concept of substantive democracy, by which I mean a democracy which goes well beyond procedures, beyond elections, and attends to the key fundamental needs actual material needs as well as intellectual needs, attends to the key issue of the sustainability of life on Earth, which is, as I said early on, the key political, economic and philosophical issue of this century.
Professor Achille Mbembe speaking to us there. Of course, he is the 2024 Holberg Prize Laureate.